Well, good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon for the East Coast. Here we are. It is time for our Women Empowerment Leadership networking event. I have been so excited for today's event. I really, really have, because it's part of something that I am so passionate about, and that's our identity. And the ladies, the lionesses that we have on here for today, I just know that this is going to be whew, just so powerful because every one of these women are just dynamic. They're dynamic from every perspective that we're going to be talking about this today. They all are very, very passionate about leadership. They're passionate about identity, and they are extremely strong, strong women in their own right. So, without further ado, we have Miss Patsy Austin, who has a leadership company. So she's coming from a very, very strong place of leadership. Neil, I always murder your last name, so I'm gonna let you say it.
It's Neo Cairo.
Thank you.
Yes.
Because I look at it and I want to say it differently. So, but anyway, Neil comes from that corporate leadership, yeah, strategic place as well. And Dr. Stephania, I'm excited because she is so unapologetically who she is at her core in the space of leadership. And so, and all of these ladies are, but I just know that this is going to be an incredible conversation. So the whole theme of today is being authentic, not compromising who you are just for the sake of your leadership role, your position, making sure that you stay true to who you are. Because so often when we rise into those places of leadership, we begin to morph into what we think people think we should be. All right. Instead of staying true to who we are and who we were created to be. So, from that perspective, I think I'm going to start with Neo this morning. From that perspective, how do you hold on to the core of who you are, no matter how high in leadership you climb?
One of the things that I think young leaders get very mistaken is they read every leadership book, blog, and all those things, and they think that they need to be what that book says and not be who they are as an individual. And I was guilty of it myself in my corporate career. And then I had tragedy happen in my life. And I had to deal with the fact that I had two cardiac arrests. Yeah. And sit with my life completely changed. I had to endure a stroke and coming from a stroke, learning how to eat again, learning how to walk again, and realized I had to learn who I was. And I couldn't compromise myself for anyone else because, number one, you are not a victim, and only you can get yourself to where it is you envision yourself to be. So, your job is to show up in your total self, not as a book tells you to, but as who you are. Because when you do, you change the room, you influence the room, and you let them know who you are, not who they want you to be.
That's good. That's good.
Mhm.
Who you are and not who they want you to be. That's really
Mhm.
important. Dr. Stephania, just from that place and just segueing from what Neil just said, how do you um, stay in touch with who you are or were before you stepped onto these platforms?
That's a real easy answer. I stay around my family.
Okay.
Yep.
That keeps you
Because nothing
grounded, huh?
keeps you more grounded, keeps you more real, keeps you connected to where you come from than the people that really, really, really know you. And
Mm,
so I am really big on family and friends and people that know me, not people that I work with, my clients. I'm talking about keeping that core people around me that's going to keep me in check.
that's good. That's really, really good. People, yeah, with people that you can be real with.
Mhm.
Yeah. And if you put on
And people that
pretense,
can be
they're gonna
real at me
call
and they
you
look
on it.
past the titles, they look past the
Mhm.
Yeah.
they look past the successes, they look past all of that because they just love you for you. And you need those are the people that help you not just remember who you are, because sometimes remembering who you are is not necessarily a good thing because in Christ old things have passed away. So some people aren't good for that. Sometimes
Mhm.
you have to be very particular about the people that keep you grounded, because they got to be a part of keeping you grounded, but also incorporating where God is taking you. You know what I'm saying? And everybody's not qualified for that, because there's some people that's good that can, we could talk about the good old days, but then there's people that you need around me that can see beyond that and know and is comfortable with where God is taking you.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Because everybody is not even comfortable in that as it relates to you. And so their job, their assignment is to keep you where you were because it keeps them comfortable.
Mhm.
That's right. That's right.
Mm.
And
That's true.
so we have to make sure that we have a really good balance of people, our core people, and we get to choose those people. Like I said, mine is made up of a little bit of family and a little bit of friends, but they're handpicked to make sure that I not only stay in touch and be humble, but also keep going and keep reaching higher.
That's good. That's good. Patsy, as a key strategist, okay, and dealing with leadership, what are just kind of like maybe five top traits that you possess that you find you have to strategize to protect as you
Mhm.
rise in influence and in power? What are you strategic about protecting?
Well, raised as a woman in any kind of situation, in most places, you have to learn how to, like you said at the very beginning, you have to learn how to read the room and adapt to stay safe. And so, one of the very first things that I had to learn how to do, like Neo said so eloquently a while ago, is I had to get in touch with who I was, not
Mhm.
who everybody else said I was. And my husband and I were on pastoral staff for 23 years. And so, growing up in a house with a very strong, dominant, abusive father, and then growing and then being in ministry for 23 years where you had to be everything for everyone. That scripture like to be thrown around in the pastoral halls of Paul that says, I become all things to all men so that I may win some. But in the process of doing that, Paul never lost himself and his identity in Christ. And so I think over the last 7 years, and especially since I met you, Dr. Coylette, a year and a half ago, I have learned who I was. So the top five things that I would really like to say God has brought me through in the last 7 years, definitely, is number one, to know myself. This is just keys. This is the keys thing, um, which is of my book and all the things, but to know myself, to be
Mm.
empowered by education, by the Spirit of God, by all of the things, by looking into inward and seeing who I am, to yield those results, to be not afraid to step out, and then to sustain my growth, to not be afraid of evolution, to not be afraid of what God is bringing me through and what He is bringing me to. And I think sometimes as uh, ladies from certain generations, I think maybe ladies from all generations right now that are alive, we have to take a step back from expectations of the mom, the help, the helper, all of these things, and get in touch with ourselves as Christ first. I ran everybody off. I know I didn't.
They're coming back.
They're coming back.
Coming back.
But that's what I've been through in the last 7 years. That's really grounded me in who I am right now and who God is helping me to become. So
I love that. I love that. Dr. Stephania, what are some of the warning signs that ladies can be aware of that would say you're drifting from your core, from who you really, really are? You know, you're compromising, you're transitioning into somebody that's not authentic.
Well, saying that I am a recovering people pleaser. I'm on my journey. That is usually one of the signs.
You're kind of breaking up a little bit, Stephanie. You're breaking up a little bit, maybe.
Connection is really, really sucks. Can you hear me better now?
Kinda. It's a little garbled.
Let me move around a little bit. Let me move around.
Okay.
Let me move around a little bit. Come over here to this side.
Yeah, that's better.
How's
Yeah.
Getting better.
That's better?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's better.
What I was going to say was,
I lost you guys too. I'm sorry.
mm-hmm.
can you hear me now?
Yeah. Keep walking
Okay.
in the direction you
I
were
was gonna
walking
say-
because it was getting stronger.
Let me see. Tell me when to stop.
Okay.
Tell me when to
Stay
stop.
right there.
Right here? This
Yep.
is a great place.
Okay.
Okay. I was going to say there are a couple of things. When I speak for myself personally, I am a recovering, currently still working on it, people pleaser.
Mm.
And when you yourself caring about the feelings and thoughts of other people more than your own, it's dangerous. You know, you don't say things, do things, not because it's going to free you and make you feel better, but you don't do it because it's going to may hurt somebody else or make somebody else uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that case, then you're choosing their feelings and their thoughts over yours. And I never, I thought that was a great thing. I'm thinking that you're kind of a martyr in those situations, but you're not. You're really not. What you're doing is you're hurting yourself. Your voice is beginning to get weakened. All you do is you keep yourself up late at night because you have all this anxiety, because you're playing in your head all the things you wish you would have said and you would have done, but for the sake of saving someone else, you didn't. And so it eats away at your core. And women, we really, really suffer from this. Everything that we go through starts affecting us physically because we're emotional. And so that is one of the biggest signs. There are many things, but for me, I know wanting to please people and make people feel good, I just went too far with it, and it started making me not produce on the level that I needed to be to produce at. And so that is really, really a big red flag to watch for. Because it will completely take you off your square. And you know what? Because you feel like it's a great thing, you won't even identify it as something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
How are you transitioning from being that people pleaser?
By making sure that I'm being true to myself, and let me tell you something, this thing is really hard because I'm starting to do it and then I carry a little guilt. And
That's
so
real.
that's what I'm just out, you're being honest. Your no's are no's, your yeses are yeses. And it doesn't necessarily feel really good if you've spent most of your life just kind of going along to get along. But I'm
Mhm.
doing it because it's not only better for me, it's better for the people that I serve.
Hmm.
Mhm.
because then they're right. Because if I'm not doing it that way, they're not really getting the true, authentic Stephania. They're getting a
Mhm.
version of me that fits into their narrative.
Mm, that's
And
good.
so I'm working on it. Every time I am faced with something that requires me to step out of that comfort zone, I do it. Like whenever the opportunity, I'm like, here's the opportunity, Stephanie, and here you go. Be honest, be real, be authentic, and let God have the rest.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love that. Neil, in because we're women and we still live in a male-dominated society. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's obviously getting better, but if we go tell the truth, like in
Mm-hmm.
some respects, certain people are trying to put us back in that little corner and in that box, which we refuse to
Mm-hmm.
get back in. But being in this male-dominated society, how have you balanced um, not being that overly aggressive woman to prove yourself, but yet and still being authentic to yourself? Because and here, let me just say this: I believe that when we're authentic to who we are, we don't have to prove anything because we are who we are. But in this society, it's very, very easy to get caught up in trying to prove your worth. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
how have you balanced that?
No, I always tell the story about um, I travel a great deal for what I do in consulting and leadership. And as soon as I walk out the house, my husband also always says to me, know your worth. And that is our thing, and it's his reminder that, by the way, Stephanie, I wholeheartedly was a people pleaser. I was also a busy filler. And what
Mhm.
that means is you keep yourself so busy that you don't have to deal with yourself.
I
You
feel that.
please everybody so you don't have to deal with your feelings. And I also realized that in people pleasing and keeping myself busy, I had the audacity to then become bitter
Mm.
because I was giving so much and nobody's giving me anything, but I never set any expectations for anyone and I never set any boundaries. So, yeah, look in the mirror, chick. So, and that is where in this male dominated world, it starts. It starts with self disruption. You must disrupt yourself from what's comfortable, what you've known to be comfortable. And what that means is you got to understand what your boundaries are. And when you go into these meetings and you have these communications, this whole aggressiveness, it's really about how you communicate.
Mm.
Because if I'm confident in myself and my knowledge and what I bring to the table, I don't need to over explain,
Mm-hmm.
which we often do. And that is what places us in the box. Oh, she's really a great performer, very technical, but I don't see her as a leader because she over talks all the time. You see, we actually fall into these labels because we're trying to let the whole world know everything we know.
Mhm.
But once we start setting our boundaries, that we talk when we see what we have to say that brings value and impact, we start focusing on impact, it changes the perception of us
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
because now we only speak in impact. Now we speak in authority. We are not speaking trying to be liked, trying to be accepted. Got to get that out of our system and accept ourselves. That's the start.
Mhm.
Disrupt yourself by accepting yourself.
Mm.
And I got to tell you, Stephanie, it's hard. It's every single day. It's looking in the mirror every moment because this is a forever journey. We get better, but there's another level we got to get to.
I like it. I like it. Someone put in the comment, who we are comes from our spirit first, then out through our soul. Learning first who we are to God in the kingdom of heaven is vital. That's Pastor Deborah. That's
Mm-hmm.
so true.
Amen.
That is so very, very true. So very, very true. Patsy, just because I know a little bit of your, your journey and your testimony, and I remember being at the retreat and you walking into that place of self-awareness, just
Mm-hmm.
that reflection. How has your self-awareness, because the ladies need to understand this, how has your journey of self-awareness enabled you to walk better alongside your husband in the things that you do? Because you guys do a lot together. So
Yes.
how has that, like, without you morphing into his identity or trying to be him, how
Mm-hmm.
has your self-awareness worked for you?
Oh wow, that is really great because it not only works with your spouses and your husbands, but also working alongside people in general is when you know who you are and whenever you're able to accept yourself and start walking in your own identity, then you don't have to put on anybody else's identity. There's no space for anybody else's identity. And forgive me, but it goes back to a scene in Dirty Dancing. Whenever
That's
they're
my
when he's
favorite
teaching,
movie.
I
My
know,
favorite movie. Everybody knows.
whenever he's teaching her how to dance, and he has to hold a strong frame, but so does she.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? In order for
Yes.
them to be partners, they both have to hold a strong frame. And he was like, spaghetti? No, we don't do spaghetti arms. Do have strong arms. And that's what I feel like identity is, especially whenever I'm waltzing with my husband or when I'm waltzing with Holy Spirit or whenever I'm doing anything with anybody. If I know who I am, then I can hold strong within myself. And as Neo was saying, I don't have to prove anything to anybody. So it takes the defensiveness out, it takes the critical spirit out, it takes all of those things, the harshness, the command, the control, and I get to operate in my full femininity. In my full authority and in my full identity, and everybody gets to dance well together.
Mm,
And I
I
think
like
that's
that.
I think that's a common misconception that if I hold myself, then I can't flow with other people. And it's actually the opposite. If I
Mm,
hold myself and I hold who I am in my core, then I don't have to be anything else. And I don't have to prove anything to anyone because they'll see. And if they
mm,
don't see immediately, they'll see eventually. And
mm,
Dr. Stefania was saying, well, like, oh, it's going to make some people uncomfortable. It really is. And it's going to change their view of me, and they're not going to be happy with that change, but I've got to be okay with that. That's part of that strength. That's part of that
mm,
holding myself, is knowing that it's not going to make everybody happy, and that has to be okay.
mm,
So
mm.
that would be what I would say.
I love that. I love that. Dr. Stephanie, I know recently, well, probably you've been at it for a while, but recently I've made note of some of your posts where you are identifying with this season in life, maturing and being okay with it, being okay in your 50s, being okay where you are. I'm there, like, unapologetic. It's like, this year, if God say the same and blesses me, I will see 70. I'm all right with that. I am so
Mm-hmm.
all right with that. But how are you navigating and help our ladies? Because I know you're doing it with grace and dignity. Help our ladies to navigate that sphere of being who they are, especially in leadership, because they're looking at, oh, well, the younger women are coming up behind me and snapping at my heels, and I need to be this so I can compete with that. How do they stay core or are true to their core in this season of their life?
Well, first of all, I have to start with I went into menopause and it
Mm.
was very hard for me. I'm talking about textbook. Everything they said that would happen happened. I the weight gain, the hair loss, the everything. And I think that the moods, I didn't really get affected by the moods. I think I got depressed because my hair fell out. You know, I think the depression
Mm.
was directly connected to my hair coming out and not looking and feeling like myself. I stopped taking pictures. I didn't want to be in front of any. I mean, really. And what really sucked about it is I lost my mom at 33. And so I hadn't, I never knew anything about this. You know what I'm saying? Nobody talked about it. Nobody was having conversations about menopause. And so it was a crash course for me. I got thrown into it. And one of the biggest things I learned was I had to become reacquainted with the new me. There was a new person now. I was no longer the older stuff now. I was never gonna I'm never going to be a size 4 again. I'm never, there's some things about me now that I just had to embrace. My hair is turning gray. I'm going to start getting, things are going to change naturally, and I have to be okay with that. And
Mm.
once I accepted that, then it freed me. Then I was free because I'm no longer trying to compete with 25-year-olds on Instagram and 30-year-olds on, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to compete with anything. This is me now. It's the new body, the new um, thought process, the new everything. I don't know. Menopause has changed me forever. And I embrace it now. I walk through it. I encourage women now in menopause because I said there's life after it. I
Mhm.
my all of this hair is after menopause. It's getting on the other side of it, and you know what I'm saying. My hair grew back. I became active. My diet. I went to a nutritionist, and you know what I'm saying. That listen, I weighed 126 pounds going into delivery for my daughter. Up until
Oh.
40 years old, I never weighed over 125 pounds ever. And so I'm just thinking I am somebody that will forever be, I mean, just little. And menopause took me somewhere that I didn't even think my body could stretch to. I didn't even think I could get as big as I got. I got up to like 170 pounds, and
Wow.
it was depressing for me because I felt hopeless, because I felt like I didn't eat my way there. You know what I'm saying? I felt like there was something else going on. I mean, I would stop eating and I would still gain weight. I would try to, it was just all, it was just a lot. And I think that women that have been through it, we need to be more vocal. I want to start having conversations about menopause
Mhm.
um, because it's real. And, I have this thing is like, no, you're not going crazy. You're just in menopause. I have young women that are in their 40s and starting to go into it, and they're saying they need help because some of them are trying to save their marriages because it has so impacted um, who they are. And so we just need to have those conversations. And I say all of that to say that that's part of getting older.
Mhm.
Accepting it, aging gracefully, aging to the point where you are okay with getting older. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Because if you're fighting it, then it's no fun. If you're doing everything, and I'm like, listen, we can do all the things that look as young as we want on the outside, but the inside is the number. And we're getting there. It is what it is. And so now we have to incorporate that into whatever leadership, whatever our what we're doing in life, right? Whether we're motivating, we're teaching, we're pastoring, we have to bring that part of us now into that space.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
I
it's
do.
okay. I love it.
Mhm.
I'm like, my grandmother used to be, I never knew how old my grandmother was till she died because she was never going to tell you. And one day somebody asked me how old I was. She's like, never tell anybody how old you are. I was like, yeah, you lied so much till you forgot your birthday. I said, but I'm okay with it because I'm doing it very well. I'm doing it on my terms and I love it
Mhm.
and I'm okay
Mhm.
with it. And embrace it,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Embrace it, but do the work. Don't do the work. Do the work. I'm saying, do the hair, the face, the facials, the all. I do it all, y'all. I do.
Mhm.
I have added that piece. I go to get any Botox or any of those things yet, and I'm not against that. I have the DNA that has not required me to have to do any of that yet. But I am telling you, I take care of me so I can be
Mhm.
good to take care of other people.
You know, and I admire that you want to do and have conversations about that, because I think that's so very very important. You know, there's a lot of women out there exactly like you that nobody prepared them. You know, it was just like all of a sudden, boom, there you are. I got thrown into it very, very early in life because I had a total hysterectomy at 32 years old. And so, you know, like now I was never as small as you, but for my height and my size, I was very, you know, I kind of look like I look now
Hmm.
after years of working at it and dealing with it. But it was I went from normally that little seesaw from 155 to 165, but I'm 5'11. So, you know, it was a nice little seesaw and I was good to 270. And it was just because of the surgery and just thrown in it. But one of the things that I had to embrace, and like I said, I think it's really good to have these conversations about it, was no matter what size I was still who I was.
Hmm.
And so often we equate who we are to the outward appearance. Like, you know, I didn't start dressing frumpily. I didn't, y'all, everybody that knows me know I like to dress. Okay. I kept dressing. There were bigger sizes, but I kept dressing. I kept trying to represent who I was. And then work on the outside. Now, it took some doing, and for me, it actually took surgery, because I was just like, I was so tired of that up and down, and like, you know, you lose 20, you gain 30. It's just like
Hmm.
I'm over this. I'm so over this. And so I believe that if you're going to be true to yourself, then do what's good for you
That's right.
inside. You know, some people are like, oh yeah, well, I would never have surgery. Well, I had it. Okay.
That's
And I
right.
am 20 years into the surgery and feeling good. I'm still good and still glad I did it. You
That's
know,
right.
people are taking the medication now. Do what you need to do for you. Don't let people shame you.
That's
Okay.
right.
There are people that can go to the gym and work out 5 and 6 times a week. I'm not. Okay. I love to
That's
walk. That's
good.
about
That's
the extent of
good.
it. Okay. That's about the extent of it. I will go walking with you all day long, but I'm not running. Okay. I'm not lifting weights. I'm not doing all of that. Okay. So do what's authentically good for you to maintain what it is that you need to maintain. But the key is never lose who you are inside.
Process, yeah.
Don't lose that. Don't
Yeah.
lose that. You know, outwardly, and like Dr. Stephanie had just said, things are gonna change. My face don't look like it looked at 40.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
I'm just, you know, I look back on pictures and it's just like, oh, you know, girl, you looked good then. But I have to come into the realization you still look good for who you are and where you are. I will never forget this, because I do promotional pictures every year, right? Because I do the articles and different things, and I need different pictures each year. And I remember at 65, I got my pictures and I told my husband, oh, I got to get these touched up. Look at this. You know,
Hmm.
I'm seeing these little lines in here and stuff. And he looked at me, he said, baby, you're 65 years old. You look good. And it was just
Hmm.
like, but no, seriously, it was just like, oh, dang, I am. You know,
Wow.
it was like a realization, because I was still trying to make my face look like I was 40.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to add this, Dr. Colette, that, and we say, you still gotta be yourself and do, but that's why you have to know what it is, because menopause is it's hormonal changes in you, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's not as easy as just mind
That's
over
true.
matter. Sometimes you need help.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm
Very, very
saying?
true.
I
Very
know
true.
people on hormone replacement therapy. And so when you talk about doing whatever you need to do
Mhm.
whatever you need to do. Get
Right.
with your healthcare professional, do what you need to do to get back
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
to being who you are, because a lot of times once we enter that space, whatever we've been called to do, everything has been put on hold because
That's
we're
true.
trying to figure it out. And so it
Mm-hmm.
is hormonal. It's not just something that's in your mind that's happening. It's not.
And
Good point.
can I add something that I've discovered, because I'm going through this right now. And one of the things that I've discovered is that I had to dig past mom. I had to dig past wife. I had to dig past all of these other layers of identity that I had put on top of myself, that just through life. And I had to go back to the core of Patsy before all of that, before all of the things. And I had to, and I still have to sometimes get alone with myself and go, was that me, or was what was expected of me? And I feel like maybe a lot of ladies that are watching us have to do the same thing. And I'm sure that Dr. Stephania, you've had to do that as well. It's just like, okay, who am I? Is this who I am? Or is that a role that I fulfilled with my own personality? You know what I'm saying? So sometimes I feel like we have to go back to that.
That's good.
Yeah,
Good
I
point.
also, I also wanted to say something that Dr. Stephanie said that was so important is that you have to get okay with who you are.
Mhm.
You know, the reality of is all of us are either in menopause, I've been through menopause, I've been through menopause. And I will tell you, I think we need to hold space for our sisters that are going through it or on the cusp of getting into it, because this has been a subject that we do not talk enough about. We, especially when women are going through leadership and those hormones have them on a roller coaster and they're trying to be calm in situations that are beyond being calm.
Yeah.
And it's like forever they are challenging themselves. And I could say that my menopause journey was similar to everything you all said. It was an ugly roller coaster of identity and depression. I was depressed because I didn't know who was in front of that mirror. And it just was anxiety, depression, you call it. It was a roller coaster. But it comes right back down to, as beautifully stated, core.
Mhm.
Who are you? Your full awareness of who you are and who you want to be. Because let's just be real. The beauty of menopause, it gives you a little bit of freedom. You don't have to worry about having to carry pads anymore.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry. Yeah, I mean, there is some freedom that we got to, throw in there. You're not worried about getting pregnant, you know.
Mhm.
You have some freedoms that come with menopause, but we limit them because we're looking at all the negatives.
Yeah.
I challenge you to find some of the positive
Mhm.
and start figuring out who you want to be, because you now have a season that you are less responsible for the babies, less responsible for making sure that your husband ate and all that stuff. Everybody now has their own place. Now it's a
Mhm.
time for you.
Mhm.
And I challenge us to start the conversations and start with younger women, women in their 30s, so that they are not in shock like we were.
Mm, yeah.
And on,
Mhm.
yeah, and on top of it, also let's look for the good things that we can do now that we are in this season. Because I gotta be honest, end of 50s was my happy time. I just entered 60, and I have to say, I love 60 better than the gal I was at 40. I really like this one. This one knows what's important and knows what's not and lets it go. It just lets go what's not important, because I can't carry that load. It's not for me to carry.
Right. Right. I wholeheartedly agree. To get to a place in life where you're unapologetically yourself, you know, to
Mhm.
understand that your uniqueness really is your superpower. It's not, you're not weird, you're not quirky, you're not all these different things that and labels that people might have put on you, or you may have even put on yourself. But to understand, no, I was created to be this. This is who I was, and who I'm supposed to be, and how you know that you step into that place is you go just what Neil just said, you get into your happy place. It's
Mhm.
like,
Yeah, I
I
was
like
going to
me.
say you have to shed. I think every decade you have to shed a version of yourself that someone else put on you. So
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
think about it. Once you hit your 30s, you have to shed the things that your parents expected of you because
Mhm.
all of their ideals and everything else rejected. And then I think 40s, for me was like shedding the ideals of what a man wanted from me. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? And that ideal. And then 40s was really good. But then 50s, after I was done raising my daughter, I had to even shed being there for somebody, raising a kid. I was
Mhm.
done with that. So getting older is amazing because as you get into your 50s and your 60s, it's like that is where your true freedom, because you're done raising kids, you're done trying to please people. You've if you're still blessed to have your parents, I mean, you've now you're raising them or they've gone
Mhm.
on. But it is so much of shedding the ideals that have been placed on you your whole life, or what other people think you should be. And then you're trying to line for, I know most of my 20s and 30s, I was trying to become a woman that I thought a man wanted. Like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm supposed to be trying to get a husband, right? And so I need to be like this and I need to act like this, and all of that craziness that you go through just to find out that the man that I ended up connecting to liked me just the way I was. All the craziness, all the quirkiness, all of the things that I'm comfortable being. He's comfortable with me being that way. But who would have thought it would have took me to get in my 50s to finally connect with that
Mhm.
person? I'm starting to kind of talk to male clients, even men. I tell men that some of them are really kind of having a hard time with careers and finances and things, and I give them story after story, as most men, I'm not talking about athletes and entertainers, but most successful men did not get into their sweet spot financially till they hit their 50s.
Mhm.
Just go look at it. And so we have to be able to look at, when you start looking at success and people that are really able to live in success and the things, it's in their 50s and 60s. It's not, 30s and 40s. You are still grinding it out and trying to figure it out. And it's okay. And I tell my women clients that are in that spot, it's okay. It is
Mhm.
okay. You're not behind. You're not behind.
No, no, you're not.
Right.
And it is about discipline too.
Mhm.
You have to be willing to deal with the grind. I think the problem that happens often is if you're chasing multiple rabbits, you're lucky if you catch one. But if you're clear and you're disciplined about what it is you want, the Lord will give you the path. And it's for you to follow through in discipline. And if you continue in that path, and yes, it will wiggle because success is never straight. There was always going to be obstructions. That's a learning.
Mhm.
That's to fuel you for the next situation that's going to happen
Mm-hmm.
and doors that will open.
Right.
But you must be consistent.
Mhm.
And the saddest part about all of us is we often give up just at the cusp of success.
Mhm.
So keep the discipline going. Don't
Mhm.
lose sight of your vision. If you are going to be, if what you want is to own a business, guess what? The first 3 years are going to suck.
Mhm.
It's that simple. And then you have enough knowledge to modify and adapt and keep it going. Most businesses take 10 years to take true hold.
Mhm.
And then at that 10-year mark is when they start seeing sight of true success. So it is not a one day event, it is a journey.
Mhm.
And that's for your body, that's for your mind, and for your spirit, because
Mm,
that is another mission, your mission with the Lord. Every
mm.
single day you get closer because you have the discipline of prayer, the discipline of meditation, the discipline of reading his word. That's how you get closer and move forward.
Mhm.
I love it. Well, Neil has just given her closing remarks. Patsy?
Yes.
Good job, Miss Neo. You're
Yeah,
stepping
I
on my
love
toes.
it. I love it. I'm over here like, okay, I need.
So if I had anything to say about identity today, it's that the more comfortable you are with yourself, the more comfortable you are with the people around you. And so if you ever find yourself in conflict with everybody else, or that you can't maintain your peace in the middle of situations, that it might be a good time to go back and reflect. How in touch am I with myself? Because I find a lot of times my outward peace is a reflection of my inner peace. That if I am having a hard time with keeping my relationship straight with my grown children, or keeping my relationship straight with my clients, or what my friends, or whatever is going on, a lot of times that reflects the fact that I'm having a conflict within myself. And it triggers me to be able to get away and get alone and have these conversations with myself and with the Lord, so that I can go forward now and be authentically me in my identity in every other relationship. But I can't do that if I'm not authentically me in my relationship with myself.
I love it. I love it. Stephanie?
The Bible says God made us and not we ourselves, which means that sometimes we've labeled ourselves, we've said things about ourselves, we've put ourselves in situations that have began to develop our identity. And whenever we begin to be confused about who we are and what we're supposed to be doing, we have to go back to the person that created us. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
just that simple. We did not make ourselves. And so when we get with God, when we start feeling overwhelmed about who we are and what we're supposed to be doing, because sometimes, because seasons change, and sometimes what we were supposed to do last season is not what we're supposed to be doing this season. And you're still trying to do old season stuff in this new season, it ain't working. I say, have a little talk with Jesus, and it'll make it all right.
Hmm.
I love it.
Amen.
I love it. Thank you,
Amen.
ladies, so much. I was so looking forward to this because I knew that it would just be pure fire that's being dropped, because we as women, we try to be all things to all people except ourselves. And that's where we have to reel it in and be all things to ourselves, okay?
Mhm.
That self care, that self identity, that knowing at our core who we really are and walking in that authenticity. That
Mhm.
is so key for our peace of mind, for our happiness. And as they say, when mama's happy, everybody else is happy. Okay, when you tap into who you authentically are, you will shine in the boardroom, you will shine in the classroom, you will shine in the bedroom, you will shine everywhere you show up,
Yeah.
because you're true to yourself. You're not putting on airs, you're not trying to be who somebody told you were supposed to be. Your voice is authentic. All right. I when Stephanie was talking about being a people pleaser, I don't think there's a woman on the planet that has not walked in that.
Mhm.
I really don't. From a little girl, we're trying
Mhm.
to please people. We're trying to please our parents. We're trying to please our peers. Then we try to please our mates. We're trying to please our children. We're trying to please
Everybody
everybody but
ourselves.
ourselves, and we get
Mhm.
lost in the shuffle. um all of you can testify, like the opening to most of my retreats is, what did you want to be when you were a little girl? What did you want to be? Because that takes you back to who you were back then. Okay. And the point is to dream again. When you find your authentic self, then you can dream again. It may not be the same thing you wanted to be as a little girl. Okay. But authentically, who do you want to be now? Who do you want to be? And then walk in that. Walk in that. Be authentic to your core. So that was the point of today's panel and today's networking session. I've seen the chats and stuff, and I'm seeing that, people really identified with this. So thank you, ladies. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your time with the ladies. And we'll be back here next month with something else, but something fresh and fire. But the whole point is, as women, we have to learn to support one another. We really do. We have to have the conversations with one another. We have to have a sisterhood, because no matter what your ethnicity is, what your age is, being a woman is something special.
Yes.
Yes,
And
it
only
is.
another woman can understand that.
Period.
That's right.
Period. So thank you. Thank you, ladies, for your time. And thank you for those of you who have tuned in. And if you know somebody that can benefit from this, share it out. Tell them, say, you know what? I was on a call and heard some things that can be a blessing to your life, and allow it to bless them. So that's it for our time today. Thank you so much, everybody, for being a part, and God bless.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.